We found out yesterday that the Sacramento Kings traded Tyrese Haliburton, Buddy Heild, and Tristan Thompson to the Indiana Pacers in exchange for Domantas Sabonis, Justin Holiday, Jeremy Lamb, and a second-round pick. Now, this has sparked outrage from Kings fans and honestly, a lot of confusion over why the Kings made this move in the first place when it really seemed like all of the signs pointed to the Kings building around Tyrese Haliburton going forward, regardless of if that was going to be with or without De'Aaron Fox. But this trade seems to have thrown all of that away, and the Kings look like they're going to be moving forward with a duo of De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. We're going to be talking about what this means for both teams going forward, and I'll also be giving my thoughts on the trade and why I think it's a gut punch to Tyrese Haliburton, so be sure to stick around until the end so that you don't miss anything. As always, if you enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe and leave a like. Let's get right into it. Now, before we get into the meat of everything, I want to roll this clip from an interview with Tyrese Haliburton from a couple weeks ago.
I'm here to help us win. Obviously the Kings haven't won in the past, haven't been in the playoffs in whatever 15 years, but I refuse to let the culture of what the Kings have been in the past, take over who I am as a person. And I'm a member of the Sacramento Kings, so I'm gonna help fix this. And I don't know how long it's gonna take. It ain't gonna be in a day. It ain't gonna be in a month. But I'm gonna be here, and we're gonna make it work. I promise that.
The Sacramento Kings had a player who explicitly wanted to help change the culture and be there for the long haul to help fix things. The Sacramento Kings haven't been to the playoffs since 2006, and you have a player that wants to be a part of the process to get you back there, and you trade him? We talk all the time about players being loyal to their franchises and how it means more for them to stick with them through thick and thin in order to eventually win a championship. But what about when the franchise isn't loyal to the player? Matt Barnes said in a recent interview that Haliburton was in tears when he found out about the trade because he really did want to be in Sacramento to help build something special and change the culture. Now, I do think we need to talk about what is and isn't a realistic ceiling for Haliburton, because I do think some people view him as a quote-unquote franchise player, which I think might be a bit of a lofty expectation. Tyrese is a really good player, and he does project to get even better. While I'm not sure he's going to end up being an all-NBA caliber player, I think him becoming a perennial all-star is absolutely attainable. You look at what he's done in games without De'Aaron Fox this year, and it's borderline all-star stuff already. He's averaging 19.2 points and 10 assists per game on 57.8% true shooting in 12 games without De'Aaron Fox this year. He's also nabbing almost 2 steals per game in those 12 games. Now, obviously, a 12-game sample size is too small to draw any definitive conclusions, but those are really, really good numbers. I'd argue those numbers over the course of an entire season would be enough to warrant an all-star selection. By the way, Haliburton is only 21 years old. He wasn't some older rookie whose ceiling was already capped. This is a kid who had all the room in the world to continue to grow and develop into an all-star caliber player. Now, he's not necessarily a franchise player or a number one option, but he is an incredibly easy player to build around because he does basically everything really, really well. He likely is not going to be the number one option on a contender, but he could definitely be a second or third option and still play at an all-star level. I understand that Tyrese isn't a win-now player, but are the Kings really a win-now team? It doesn't make sense to move him in what seemingly looks like an attempt to make a playoff push when, realistically, the return you're getting back doesn't really seem conducive to making the playoffs. I really hope that the Pacers treat Tyrese Haliburton well and that he continues to grow into a star. Now, I do need to talk about Sabonis and what he brings to the table for the Kings and how this whole thing is going to work with him alongside their other pieces. I'm going to do my best to rationalize this trade and find some silver linings, but it is a bit confusing from a roster construction point of view. Now, I do want to be sure to give him his credit because Sabonis is a very good basketball player, and I do think he is a bit underrated by the majority of NBA fans. Obviously, he's been an all-star twice. He's not a scrub. But I do have some pretty big concerns about how his skill set fits in with the Sacramento Kings' current roster. So right now, the Sacramento Kings have the second worst defensive rating in the entire NBA, allowing 114.7 points per 100 possessions. The Indiana Pacers have the fifth worst defensive rating in the NBA, allowing 113.1 points per 100 possessions. To me, it seems a little bit naive to think that Domantas Sabonis is going to do anything to improve the defensive issues that are present in Sacramento. He is a decent defender at best, but he's not exactly a defensive anchor, and he won't be able to change the team's defense overnight. He's not a particularly good rim protector, so for a team that struggles so much with defense, it is a little bit puzzling as to why Sabonis looked like the right move. But maybe he can help with the offense, right? Well, in some ways, yeah, he can, but in the ways that the Kings need, probably not. Sabonis isn't really a stretchable big man, being a 32% three-point shooter on the season. Really, anywhere outside of the paint, he's not necessarily very efficient. He does add some really good post scoring, and he's got good footwork to score at the rim, so I will give him that. It's something he really excels at, and I am excited to see if that can energize this offense a little bit. His bag of post moves is honestly one of the deepest in the entire league, and De'Aaron Fox hasn't really had a big man with this level of scoring before, so it will be interesting to see the dynamic between the two unfold. And to his credit, Sabonis is a really good playmaker for a big man, averaging 5 assists on the year so far. He's great at playing out of the high post, initiating dribble handoffs, finding cutters from the post, setting screens for guys, so that is an aspect of his game that I'm really excited to see integrated into this Sacramento offense. The two-man game between De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis is going to be really fun to watch. With Sabonis' playmaking and De'Aaron Fox's cutting and ability to drive off of screens, it should be, at the very least, fun to watch the two learn to play together and integrate with each other. Now, the issues I have with this trade stem more from a lineup perspective. Their starting lineup is going to likely look something like Fox, Holiday, Barnes, Sabonis, and Holmes. The only people shooting over 30% from 3 in that lineup are Holiday and Barnes. Everybody else is shooting under 33%, or in Richaun Holmes' case, just doesn't take threes. Fox is a point guard that needs spacing because he's a slasher. When the opposing team's defense is anticipating a drive, there's no need to honor other three-point shooters, and they can just prepare to guard Fox at the rim and clog up the interior. This lineup is a spacing nightmare. Sabonis won't be able to stretch out to the perimeter at the 4 spot, and Holmes can't either from the 5 spot. I just personally don't have particularly high hopes for this lineup going forward. It just seems destined to be a disaster, and if this doesn't work out, they're kind of crippled because their assets have been diluted at this point. To even make the play-in tournament, they're going to have to get past 3 of these 6 teams: the Spurs, the Blazers, the Pelicans, the Lakers, the Clippers, and the Timberwolves. Then they would have to beat probably 2 of those teams in the play-in tournament to even make the playoffs. That's a pretty uphill battle, and unless there's more in store for the Kings before the trade deadline tomorrow, I'm really not sure it's likely. So, who do you think won this trade? Be sure to let me know in the comments below, and as always, don't forget to subscribe if you're new to the channel and leave a like on the video, because that's the #1 way to help me out with the YouTube algorithm. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.